Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Next up, we have this 1995 Ford Lightning. Great condition truck, beautiful. We're gonna be narrowing the rear end on this one, installing a 3-link and a notch. We'll show you the wheels here in a second. Probably saw them in the reflection of the truck in the beginning of the clip. Beautiful truck. It's gonna look good. It's got some 24-inch wheels. The front look like they're 9-inch. The rear are some massive 16-inch wide. These things are absolutely huge. Here's my hand in comparison. 16 inches wide. So that means it's probably a 12-inch lip. And that's a nice size lip there. You know, my hand looks tiny. Put a baby in there. So we're gonna narrow the rear end for those big guys. We're gonna get them stuck on here. They're gonna look really, really, really good. The 3-link and the notch and everything we're gonna install is right over here. We gotta put all this together. It's gonna be on coilovers. That tank isn't a part of it. That's my tank that's just been sitting there forever. But we've got an underbed notch, it's not mine. We already had all these parts. This bracket here is for the axle. It looks like I will make my own tabs. This looks like it's for a 4-link, parallel 4-link. These are for the coilovers. These are the end links. This is for the 3-link, the upper 3rd link. And then we got a crossbar. So we'll go ahead, and the first thing we need to do is figure out how much we need to cut out of that rear end for those wheels. We'll get the truck, the rear end in the air enough to get those wheels off, to bolt up one of them bad boys, and we'll get some measurements. One is on for the test fit. I'm gonna go ahead and lower that jack and everything so I can have it nice and squarish. I won't let the fender touch the tire, so I'll lower it down just to right above it. If it does it naturally, awesome. More than likely need to put the other one on to make sure both sides are the same that I'm cutting off. I don't want to say, okay, the driver's sides, we'll say 12 inches has to come out. Well, what if I do that on both, go to put the rear end in, and the other side actually needed 13 inches. So we will verify and put the other wheel on. I'll put the jack stand underneath this side, so like I said, it won't touch. So we'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll get back to getting some numbers. Hey, if you haven't yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications, that way you get notified when this, as this build gets done. These are some really wide wheels that we're putting on this truck. It's gonna look really, really good. Lip for days. sitting on jack stands, just a hair above it. Anybody want to do some wide wheels and no, we are not leaving it like this. We're gonna bring that lip all the way in to in front, well, behind. We're not gonna cut this bed up at all. I need from the lip on the inside to out here, I need 8 5/8 taken off each side. But I know he's gonna wanna tuck that wheel or rim some. So we took account for the flare and then some of this. So he'll be able to tuck up into this area if he really needs to be, if he needs to lay out or bag it, body it, whatever. It'll be available for him to do that. I don't like making my customers do things twice. So he will be narrowed enough to go ahead and bag it one day if he wants to. So we're gonna pull 11 inches total from each side. I'm adding 2 1/4 to give him some play. So we're taking 22 inches total out of this rear end. We'll go ahead and get these wheels taken back off. More than likely just throw them back on with just a few bolts on them so we can start getting this bed taken off. Next, it's time to get this bed off. Beautiful paint job on it, looks original. No bed hooks. It's a problem I run into here and there, and it has some hooks down here at the bottom. I'll zoom in and show you up there. You can see them, but I don't want the chain or anything rubbing on any of this. I normally use an engine leveler and my chain. And on the newer trucks, they have hooks at the bottom of the bed, so it's easy just to clip on in them and lift them up. Well, like I said, I don't have that option with this one. So we went ahead and purchased a bed lift. We're gonna see how this works out. Some of the quality is fine. It's not, I mean, even the name brands look the same thing. There's a few things I would like to address. And number one is that hook. I want to re-weld some nice fatter welds on there, but we're gonna see how it works. I'm gonna throw some safety chains around it. So in case it does decide to give away, I'll have something to keep it from falling. But this might be the easier way, or it's gonna be more of a pain in the butt. We're gonna find out. Got everything all prepped up. Figure I'd show you guys how it's set up. Tucked underneath each bed rail. It's a little tight, which is fine. Had to use a rubber mallet to smack them kind of in place to get them kind of worked in. Might lube them up. Some safety chains just in case the slider doesn't hold. I'll have to also figure out where it likes to be. It's gonna have to probably be more towards the front. But here we go. Only one way to find out how this thing works. Not bad at all. Once you get it in the sweet spot, I like it. You can actually push on the bed and it moves instead of swinging. So I may modify a few things here and there, but I like it. It paid for itself already. They aren't bad. They aren't that expensive either. I can fold it down, set it up there, grab me some, I don't know, maybe I should make me some pulley systems. That way I can start hanging stuff up there. I need to get my banners up there. But anyways, back to this. All right, now that the bed's off, I'll go ahead and start marking the center of the axle. Get some measurements where the axle needs to be. That gas tank, I don't like it. It's coming out. We've got a lot of things to mock up. Got to cover that back window. But we'll keep going. Going to let those soak for a few minutes. They're too tall for the deep well socket to get on, so I have to do them by hand. And then when you do them by hand, they're barely wanting to creep on. So we'll let them soak in, and then we'll get back at it in a second. First thing we're gonna do is get that rear end narrowed. We'll get it figured out, cut out. That way we can get the call and order the axles from Mosier. And while those are being prepped and everything, I can start working on the notch. This notch here, from the look of it, is not gonna work. So we're gonna have to come up with something on our own. There's the hole there for the cross bar, the bridge bar, because it's coilovers. That, just barely. I'd have to cut off this plate on the outside that wraps around the bottom. And also the other thing, which is, I guess it was done for the leaf perch, is what it looks like. But these frames aren't straight. So if I build a notch on it, it'll delete that little gap. The other issue I have is we'll have to be playing with metal, as that doesn't connect to anywhere, as these frames curve in and out. You can see over there kind of the shape. So he doesn't need an underbed notch, which this isn't an underbed notch. It typically would be, but with this frame, as you can see, it raises up and touches the bed right there. So we're not gonna mess with that. I'm gonna go ahead and design my own C-notch for this. They do sell them online, but I can't wait a few weeks for them to come in. So it looks like I have to make one. All right, like I said, we're gonna go ahead and let that soak, and then we'll come back and get right back on it. Spoke to the customer, and we're not tucking too far. It looks like we're gonna take the lip of the rim, and it's gonna sit flush with the fender line. So the tire will tuck up. So that'll be a few inches, and then I'm gonna give it a few more extra inches to make sure if you hit a bump or something, it won't hit anything. I'll be removing that gas tank. I'm not sure. Well, maybe not. Now that I'm not doing an actual full-size notch, it might not be in the way. Throw a blanket over it, be good to go. If you haven't yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. Get notified as we're building this bad lightning. Almost disassembled. All I have left to take off is the brake line. It's got a connection back there to the T, so I'll probably go ahead and disconnect it back there. Hopefully, I'll spray it now with a little bit of, I use not PB Blaster, I use, I think liquid wrench. It's been a while. I just had it out, but I don't look at the name, but I use the same stuff. I was gonna pull the emergency brake cables, but they are already rusted and broken off. Let's see if it'll zoom. There it goes. So we'll go ahead and disconnect them right here, and then tie that little bracket up so it don't drag, because obviously they don't work. But if the customer wants to put new ones back in, he can do that, but I don't think he is. I believe he went from drums to calipers, and I don't think they have a provision or a spot to connect them. So we'll go ahead and pull that out. I'm debating on pulling the gas tank. If I don't have to, I won't. I'll just cover it, but it's pretty close, but we'll see. I have to get this narrowed and set where I want it, and kind of make sure the pinion angle's where I want it. And we got to make sure that caliper ain't gonna hit the frame when we get it into position where we want it. If it is, I might have to narrow the frame or make a notch that's narrowed. I'm not sure yet. One step at a time. Rear end is out. Brake line is capped off. Next, we'll get the cover off that rear differential so we can get it to drain. We'll let that drain overnight tonight while I get some kind of sleep. And we'll start disassembling. We need to take off the brakes. Take that brake line off. I'll probably cap it off like I do. I use these rubber vacuum plugs. I buy an assorted pack of them. And if they go bad because of fluids and dry rot, then I buy another pack. But it's like assorted of like 20 of them. And I literally use them for all kinds of stuff like this. Earlier, this is what I did. You can see I put a blue one on and it helps keep the fluid. Like I said, after having them and using them for a little while, they get dry rotted, then you throw that one out. And they're only under $5 or $8 for a pack of 20. So it's a nice little fluid saver. I've been using them on motor swaps, all kinds of stuff. It helps keep the fluid from dripping out. You may lose some, but it also keeps contaminants from getting in your transmission, your rear brake lines, vacuum lines, anything you're gonna leave open for a little while. Cap it. That way you get nothing in it. All right, let's go ahead and get this drained. Like I said previously, we're gonna go ahead and let that drain overnight. It's time to go ahead and go in and get some dinner. Sun's starting to go down. It's pretty much already in the process. Let's see, do we got a nice sunset tonight? Ooh, not bad. That's not too shabby. Window's a little dirty, but nice view. All right, like I said, we're gonna let this thing drain. We'll go back at it in the morning. We'll start disassembling the brakes, the brake line. Once we get all that off and out, we can go ahead, we'll get the axles out, the center, the carrier out, and then we can go ahead and start marking it and getting ready to cut it. Now that it's gutted, we need to get these axle seals and bearings out of each end, which we'll do with that puller. And before I do that, I need to grab some numbers and write them down in the notebook for reference of all the stock lengths. So we'll go ahead and do that. Then we'll, like I said, we'll pull out those bearings on both ends, the seals, and then we can start marking it to cut it. I'll be able to cut the factory brackets out as they are within the 10-inch mark. I said earlier we were doing 11. We don't need to go that far. He's not going that low. I was gonna bring it up into this region up here in case you ever wanted to bag it or get it on the floor, but I don't think that's the case. We're only making the lip sit at the bottom of the fender. So I just need to tuck it in enough because there's 1 inch lip in there. So I need to tuck it in that much and then tuck it in a little bit more for the tire. So the tire doesn't hit this outer edge right about here. So we're gonna do 10 inches. We need 8 5/8 to clear this lip. So we'll double check the math. I'll put a square on here, go up the distance we need, which is, I believe, 2 inches, 3 inches, something like that. I'll measure the tire again and then measure over and see where that is. And I'll give a little extra play. You gotta make sure there's room to put your hand up in there in case it bumps, stuff like that. I'm not sure how tight he's gonna have the spring rate on the coilovers, but it should be pretty stiff. The last set fought me, but I got it. Normally I'll use that one first, and then it makes the bearing pack explode. So then I usually have to get a 3-prong claw to pull it out. Well, the 3-prong worked good on the first one, but not on the second one. I had to bust out the ring puller, or whatever you want to call it. They go in like this, and then straighten out so you can grab it. Only one way goes that tight, but it's the end on this slide hammer. It's a kit I got. So we'll go ahead and wipe that down, put that away. We'll go ahead and toss all the metal out of there. I've got some bearings that actually came out inside there. We'll get the magnet and grab those 4, it looks like, out of there. And then we'll stick paper towel in there so it doesn't drip everywhere. Because there's a little bit of residual fluid in there. That fluid will get out, will come out when, after we cut it, we'll go ahead and clean out the housing. As per every axle housing I narrow, it'll get brand new bearings, axle seals. This axle seal was leaking. There's fluid all over the housing, you can see right there. It was leaking differential fluid there, all over the rotors actually. So I'm wondering if this rotor wasn't working as well. The one with the fluid in it right here, there's actually, you can see a layer on the rotor. And that's not really good. So that'll all get sprayed down with brake cleaner when I go to reinstall them for them. But we need to mark these, cut them, tack them up, put them in the jig, tack them up, make sure our numbers are where we want them, weld it up, and then we can go ahead and order our axles. I get my axles from Mosier. There's quite a few different companies out there. You can use whoever you choose. I prefer Mosier. That's who I used first, and I like going back to them. It's easier. They have my stuff on file, and I know how they operate. that all the pieces are cut, I can go ahead and bevel every end. We need to bevel both ends of the what's left of the rear diff, and we need to bevel those inside pieces. So we'll get on that. Once we get this set up on the jig, I actually need to go ahead and set it in place and kind of start figuring out and get an idea of where the brakes need to line up. If I need to narrow the chassis, I might have to, because of the caliper, they added a aftermarket conversion from drum brakes to calipers. Well, I don't know if they stick out further or whatever, it doesn't matter. We're gonna do what we have to do, but I may have to carry on this factory little narrow. I may have to leave the front there, but carry the back somewhere back here and give me some more room. That's a hole for the bed to bolt down. When I go to do this notch, we have to make a notch that goes to the top. Hey, quit focusing. To the top of the frame as that touches the bed, and we're not going through the bed. So everything has to be below that line. We'll get some measurements and make some spacers so I can set a level across there and make sure I'm a 1/4 inch below the bed for everything we do. All right, let's get to beveling these ends. Everything is all beveled up. The only thing left we have to do now is you see all that metal in there, the little specks. Oh, there's a paper towel there. But we're gonna go ahead and clean them out. That way, when I go to weld that in there, there's nothing gonna contaminate my weld from the inside. We'll clean out both ends and then these tubes completely. We'll degrease them and then wash them. Hey, if you haven't yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications for me. That way you get notified when I finish this axle and we get it put into place. We got a lot more work ahead of us. tubes are cleaned up, beveled, cleaned up on the outside. I'm not cleaning out the carrier housing or the pumpkin or whatever you want to call this. I'm not cleaning out the inside of there. There's no reason to. I cleaned out all the way, the tubes all the way up to it. I put some paper towels and stuff to block in here and didn't have an issue with that. Also cleaned up, little piece of paper towel. Cleaned up and beveled. Got these all ready to go. So they're ready. There's the dies. There's the inner dies. These are the outer dies, some clamps. I'll grab that rod that's out of focus, that one right there. And we'll get it set up. And then we'll go ahead and figure out where we want it. I need to set it on the jig and then set it back underneath the truck to kind of get an idea. Or I can even just set it out on the jig with the right pinion angle and make sure I get the calipers where I want them. Now it's set up in the jig. You can go ahead and line up the lines. I marked it. As you can see, there's a line on, there it is. You can faintly see that line. I have another one on this side. I'll find it, line them up, tack them, set it on the truck, and keep moving forward. And then we'll order the axles. All right, everyone. This is gonna be the last video of this episode. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you get notified when the next video comes out. I don't know if this is gonna be a 2 or 3 video series, but as you can see, I made the video longer. I'm pushing to maybe make the videos longer. Maybe you guys will enjoy that better, or do you prefer the shorter 30-minute videos? But we'll go ahead and weld this one up in the next one, get the brake lines bent up, get the notch done, get the link bars mocked up, axle housing in there and mocked up, and get this thing done. Get those wide wheels put on there. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching.